Everyone please repeat what I say. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishna Bodhale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascharya Jnanam Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pungam Nagrethi Yad Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Divatharina Vande Ham Shri Gurum Shri Yadapatakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatudam Parjanasigitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitamascha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Is there any newcomer for the class? Oh. Hare Krishna, welcome. So this title is circulated. Okay. Yeah. So the title which was given, I think, to your group is Happiness is Eternal? Or is happiness eternal? Happiness is eternal. Okay. Okay, fine. So let's discuss about happiness. It's a natural propensity of everyone. Is there anybody in the world who doesn't want happiness? At least right now we are in this room. Is there anyone in this room who doesn't want happiness? They can raise their hand. So you all want happiness? Yes. Is there anybody outside the world who doesn't want happiness? Do you think that is there anyone who hate to be happy? Huh? Everyone wants to be happy, right? That's why we see in all the advertisements, happiness is being promoted so much. I don't know whether these ads are still existent or not, but during my college times or maybe it should be still there, this Coca-Cola. Still the brand is there? Still people are trying to find happiness by drinking Coca-Cola, because I think the caption for Coca-Cola is, anybody knows?
Open happiness.
Yeah, open happiness. Yeah, I don't know whether anybody got happiness just by drinking Coca-Cola. Yeah, maybe temporarily we may get some sensation in our tongue, so we may try to find. But how the advertisement is projected, that doesn't actually happen while drinking Coca-Cola, or let's be practical, even by drinking Pepsi you are not going to get that, or whatever anything that you are going to find in the supermarket. By taking that we are not going to find happiness. But happiness is instinct of every living being, not just human beings. We are all human beings, no doubt about that. But then there are so many living beings. Shastra speaks about 84 lakhs of living beings. Living being, human being, they are one of the species. So Shastra speaks about 84 lakhs. Jalaja Navalakshani. There are 9 lakhs of living beings. I am speaking living being refers to a particular species. There are 84 lakh species. Human beings are one of the species. But then there are 9 lakh species in the water kingdom, aquatics. Jalaja means Jala refers to water. think even in Hindi it should be jala. In Tamil we say jalam. So ja refers to birth, that which takes its birth in water, which refers to the fish. Fish, they live in water, they have their birth, they have their death also in water. What can be done? Maybe if at all unfortunate fishes will have their death somewhere in the land, in a house, being eaten by criminal human beings or sinful, hard-hearted human beings. They may have the pleasure of killing the fish and eating them. Otherwise, generally fish, they take their birth in water, die in water. So Jaja refers to fishes, they take their birth in water. Navalakshani, so 9 lakh species in water. Then Sthavara Laksha Vimshati. Vimshati refers to 20. Vimshati Laksha refers to 20 lakhs of Sthavara. Sthavara means that which cannot move. Jangama refers to that can move. Sthavara refers to that which cannot move, which refers to the plants, trees. They are also living beings. Though their consciousness is very low, but still they are also trying to attain happiness. Yeah. There is a famous scientist by the name Jagadish Chandra Bose. He found that even the plants, they are also having life. They reciprocate to some electrical signals, and then they do have feelings, but then their consciousness is very low, but still they are also having life. Sthavar Laksham Shati. Then Krimayo. Krimayo refers to that which moves like a reptile. So reptiles and amphibians, 11 lakhs. Then 30 lakhs among the animals. Then Pakshinam, Dashlakshanam, 10 lakhs species that fly in the sky, refers to the birds. Then Chatur Laksha Naranam, the human beings are 4 lakhs. Actually, there are 4 lakh human beings. We are one sort of species, but then there are many. Just like if you go to China, they are a different species. Then European breeds are there. Then as per Shastra, there are so many different categories. They are all coming under human beings, but then there are 4 lakh species. Just like birds, we know they are just flying, but still there are so many varieties within the birds. Certain birds are really so amazing, like the Hamsa, swans. Certain birds are very disgusting, just like the crows. Crows have a different sort of living, and the Hamsa, swans, they have a different sort of living. But still they are all grouped under birds. So similarly, human beings, there are so many varieties of human beings. And these 84 lakh species are found throughout the universe. Shastra is so scientific that it exactly says that 84 lakh species are there, and they are present throughout the universe, not just only in this world where we are living. We are living in a very tiny part of the universe, very, very tiny portion. It's just a dust when compared to the big sky that we are seeing in the space. So this Earth is a very, very tiny planet. And here we are I think scientists, they have found couple of millions. Maybe I think scientists have so far reached some 30 million species. But as per Shastra, 84 lakh species are there, 8.4 million species are there. And every species, they are also trying to be happy. Animals are also trying to be happy. Birds are also trying to be happy. The reptiles, even a snake, it may be a very threatening species for us, but still snakes are also trying to be happy. Everyone is trying to be happy. Any living being is trying to be happy. Non-living beings, there is no question of happiness for them. No question of happiness for them means they don't have any consciousness. First of all, one should have a consciousness to perceive happiness. I do not know whether anybody has thought philosophically about happiness and distress. Happiness is distress. It's difficult to perceive. But then we know that there is something called happiness, there is something called distress. But just by seeing you, I do not know whether you are perceiving happiness or distress. Something may be in your mind, maybe you are thinking about something which happened, maybe some family issue, some personal issue, or something happened with your boss, or you are having some trouble with your own mind. So you may be distressful, but I cannot perceive it, and I cannot perceive if you are happy. Maybe you are so happy that you are expecting something happen in the future, or that has happened, that you have scored number 1 in IIT rankings, or you have gotten a job somewhere in a very good company. So you may be perceiving happiness, but these things are very subtle that it's not seen. The mind, intelligence, how these things are not seen, but still we know that we have a mind, we have intelligence. Similarly, happiness, distress, these are all perceivable to one person, and those are all having consciousness, then they can perceive happiness and distress. Just as this table, it cannot perceive happiness and distress. Even if I am going to beat it, it's not going to perceive any distress. But if I am going to touch you, then you will be able to perceive, because you have consciousness. If somebody comes in the room with a gun, and naturally, even if he starts shooting, we will perceive the distress. So this distress, this happiness, these are all perceivable for living beings. But then those who are not living, they don't perceive this happiness at all. So everyone is trying to be happy. Everyone means every living being is trying to be happy. You just stop anyone in the street. Yes. Everyone in the street, everyone in the forest, everyone in the water, everybody is trying to be happy. In fact, everyone is acting only for this one purpose of being happy. Say for example, you have come here for this program. Why? What's the purpose? You may say that I want to know something. Okay, what is this lecture all about? You want to gather some knowledge, gather some information, so you have come here. But ultimately, if this method of gathering knowledge is going to give you happiness, you have come here. Anyone is doing anything in this world only for happiness. Somebody is driving a car. Why he is driving a car? Ultimately, he is driving a car to go to a place, to get something, and somehow get happiness by attaining that object. A mother is loving the son, or a son is loving the mother or father. It's all for the purpose of happiness. Everyone in this world is doing any activity only for the sole purpose of being happy. In fact, everyone is doing an activity also for the purpose of avoiding distress. Say for example, if this is, I think winter season is gradually coming. So everybody starts wearing a sweater. Why? Because they want to avoid the distress of catching cold, right? Why the fan is running? Because we want to avoid the distress of getting sweat. We don't want to be sweated. So we thought, okay, let's have a fan. So anything we are doing, it's only for the purpose of getting happiness and avoiding distress. So it means the natural propensity of a living being is to be happy. The title is Happiness is Eternal. That's true. Happiness is eternal. But only when this happiness is associated with a living being in its constitutional position, then it can be happy. We say that happiness is eternal, but are we happy? That's the next question. Are we happy? Is there anyone in here, at least practically speaking, I am saying just dozen of persons here, dozen boys here. Is there any boy who can say that there was never a distress in my life? I was never distressful in my life. I was never unhappy in my life. Is there anyone? Nobody is raising the hand. Then how we can say that happiness is eternal? It seems that we are always undergoing some sort of distress also. Krishna speaks about this happiness and then distress. Actually, the spiritual happiness is eternal. Material happiness is temporary. Only when one is associated with a spiritual thing, then they will be always happy. If somebody is associated with material things, then they may be happy for some time, and then there may be even distress also. There will be always a mixture of happiness and distress if you are connected with anything material. So spiritual happiness is always eternal, means this is its nature is to be eternal. But if at all we are associating ourselves with anything temporary, then that happiness is also temporary. So Krishna speaks about all these types of happiness in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever I am speaking, it's all based on Bhagavad Gita or the supreme talent literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. So if one wants to be happy, then one should try to know how one can be happy. The process of being happy should be known. Generally, even around the world, everybody is trying to be happy, but then the promotion for happiness is actually wrong in the outside world. That's why everybody is suffering. Everyone in Bangalore city is suffering. There is no doubt about that. Everyone is suffering. Why to speak of Bangalore city? Not just Bangalore city, even New York city or London city or the Paris city, or why to speak of cities, even the towns and villages. Everyone is suffering. There is no doubt. Everyone is suffering. Everyone is searching for happiness, but they are not finding happiness. Everyone is suffering because they are not searching for happiness in the right place. Just like the Shastra gives the example of a mirage. You all would have heard about mirage. Someone coming from a very hot place, they will be constantly seeing mirage. At least in India, people will often see mirage. Everybody knows mirage, right? Yes. So mirage shows water in it. But is there water in it? There is only an illusion of water in it. It's actually showing water. There is no doubt that there is water in the mirage. But it is the illusion of water present in the mirage. But the illusion of water in the mirage gives us the idea that there is something called water somewhere. Similarly, here in the material world, everybody is searching for the illusion of happiness. Shastra says that in the material world, which is compared to a mirage, wherever you try to search for happiness, you will never find. Just like in a desert, an animal may try to find water in the mirage. It will just go and search for water. It will see that there is a mirage, but it doesn't have the intelligence to understand that is mirage and there is no water in it. It will be simply captivated by the mirage of water. It will run to the mirage. Okay, let me find water in the mirage. And when it goes to a particular location, it will see that it has not attained the water, but then the water is lying somewhere far because the mirage keeps on moving. When you go near, the mirage still goes further. So similarly, the animal it keeps on searching for the mirage in the water in the mirage. It goes further. Its thirst increases more and more, and finally it dies, not getting water at all. Similarly, someone who is searching for happiness here in the material world, they will never find here, because there is no happiness here. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Dukkhalem ashashvatam napnuvanti vatmanaha. This material world is a place for suffering. So we will never find happiness here. Krishna says that Yadgatvana nivattante taddama paramamama. If you want happiness, then you should come to a place where happiness is actually present. If you want water, you should not go to the mirage. Where you should go? We should go to the river or a clear pond or a clear lake. There you will be able to find sumptuous water, a reservoir of water. There you can quench all your thirst. Similarly, if you want happiness, you can't search in the material world. Krishna speaks about the spiritual world. Krishna speaks about his personality. And if you, just as we may know that water is found in the river, but then we should know where to go for the river. So similarly, Krishna is directing how and where we can find the river of happiness. There is a famous verse in the Upanishad, Ramante yogino anante satyanande chidatmani iti rama padeneshu param brahma vijiyate. Happiness is present in God. When I started this class, I started with the song Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Later you can go and see the meaning of that particular song. Particularly, that song is sung by our founder Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada before beginning any class. If you just see the meaning of that particular verse, you will see that Krishna is always happy. Just here you are seeing Krishna. He is always happy. God is always happy. God is never sad. God should be always happy, right? Otherwise, why He is God? If God is a very dull person, He is a very morose person, if He is a very boring person, then how we can call Him as God? God is the supremely happiest person. So, Raso Vaisaha, this is what Shastra says, Raso Vaisaha labdva hinandi bhavati. There is unlimited pleasure in God. When you are connected with God, then you can be happy. So, we are speaking about the river of happiness. You should know where the river is there so that you can quench your thirst. Similarly, if you want happiness, you should know where you can find your happiness, then you will be able to quench your thirst for happiness. We are all searching for happiness, but then we are searching in a wrong place. The happiness is in Krishna, Raso Vaisaha. And when one is connected with Krishna, then one will be happy. Just as a child is always suffering when it is separated from the mother. You may take the child from one person to another person. You keep on move the child will never be happy. But child will be happy only when it comes and sits on the lap of the mother. So similarly, we can move from one destination to another destination, change from one body to another body, but then we will never find our happiness unless we come to the source of us and the source of happiness, which is Krishna, God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So only when one is connected with the Supreme Lord, then we can be happy. This is a very simple formula. Our message is very simple. If you want happiness, then connect yourselves with God, who is the source of all happiness. And God is always happy. God doesn't have any work. He doesn't go to an office. He doesn't have any pressure from his boss. In fact, he is the boss of all bosses. There are so many bosses here in the world. Every boss has to meet his destination called death. Or there will be some person who will be competing, just as there are politicians. They are the rulers of the current state or India or the country or the world. But still, there is always competition for the post, then another person becomes the boss of the country. But that's not the case with God. God means He is the supreme ruler. There is no ruler above Him. He is the supreme ruler of all rulers. This is God. So, God means He is always joyful. Generally, why I just gave the example of he doesn't go to office, he doesn't go to any factory, because our conditioning is that going to office is not a job of happiness. Do you think that we are going to, okay, say we are searching for happiness. Do we go to office every day? Is there any working youths here or all are students? Working, okay. How many are working here? Yeah, few are working here. So, you are going to office with a very, very happy state of mind every day? Can anyone say who are working that I am going to office so happy? I am just waiting every day in the morning. When the sun will rise, I can take an early bath and go to the office. Is there anybody waiting here? Is there anybody who, in fact, what to speak of waiting? In fact, everybody even hates to go to the office. Nobody wants to work. Actually, our nature is not to work because our Lord, He doesn't work. There is a statement in the Shastra, it says that, I am not getting the verse. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Then what comes? The next line. Natasya karanam karanam cha vidyate swabhaviki jnana bala kriya cha. Natasya karyam. God doesn't have any work to perform. Karanam cha vidyate. It's not that he has to do something so that he can become God. That's not the case with the rulers. Somebody is ruling the country of India. He has to work so hard so that he can rule the state properly, rule the country properly. In fact, he has to rule so properly that so that he can be elected again to the post of the Prime Minister. So one has to work so that he can live himself as a ruler, or he can live himself as a boss. Even the richest person in the world, he has to work so hard. But that's not the case with God. God means he has to be always happy. Why he has to work? Because we know work means suffering. Nobody wants to work because work is suffering. So God doesn't work, he is always happy. Of course, he is having Parasya Shakti, Parasya Shakti, Vivitaiva Shruyate, Subhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. Then one may ask, if God doesn't work, then how these things are happening? Actually, everything is happening because of the mercy of God only. But he is having his energy, which are all doing the job. Say for example, Ambani, they are the richest people. He doesn't do everything by himself. He is having his energies, the secretaries, the managers, the CEOs, they do everything. But these rich people, generally what they do, these rich people generally they go to a very nice part where they can just enjoy life. Of course, nowadays even the rich people are so bad that they have to be always tense condition. But generally speaking, people who are rich, they don't generally work. They have their secretaries, assistants, managers, they do everything. But then the rich people are known. Why somebody wants to become rich? Because richness means okay, we can be happy. So someone who is more rich, he is known to be more happy because he is more happy and he has to work less. That's the nature of person who is rich. He works less, but he is more happy. So if God is a person who is more happy, then definitely he should not have anything for this to be done. But then he should have so much energy that energy will take care of everything. So when God creates the world, just by his Saikshata, Shastra says that when the Supreme Lord glances at the material energy, then the creation happens. Say for example, in order to build this house, so much ingredients are there. So much ingredients are necessary. We need brick, we need cement, then paint, and then we need so many persons who can gather together all these ingredients, then somehow build this house. That's how a house is being built. But that's not the case with God. He is so powerful. That's why God is called omnipotent. He is supremely potent that just by seeing he can get his job done. His energies are acting so wonderfully. When the Lord sees, then the different material ingredients interact with each other, and then the whole material creation comes up. And with such a material creation, we have these bricks, then sand, cement, and then wood, and then we are able to build this house. But then God is so powerful that he doesn't need the help of any mason or engineer to create this big universe. He is so powerful. That's why we call God as all powerful. And because he is having so much energy, he is able to do everything. But God is always happy, especially Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is always happy. He doesn't have any job. If you just see the pastimes of Krishna, he is simply playing with his friends. He is simply playing with his girlfriends. He is simply taking care of the cows, going for a picnic, taking food in the forest with his friends and enjoying life. So God means a person who enjoys life to the superlative degree. So if someone asks what is the definition of God, we should be able to clearly say that one who enjoys the most, he should be addressed as God. Because sometimes we see that there are even competitions for God. This is Kali Yuga. People are so foolish that they claim themselves to be God, and then there are even more foolish persons who accept the proposal of somebody who says that he is God. But God means with our intelligence we can so easily perceive that he should be the most happiest person and he should be the most powerful person. He should be termed as God. And Krishna is the person who is always happy. Sramante yogino anante satyananda chidatmani iti rama padeneshu param brahma vijiyate. So God has many names and one name is called Rama. Rama means Ramante, one who is Rama. Rama refers to the enjoying propensity. One who enjoys is called Rama. Rama is derived from the word Rama because he is always in Ramante, he is called Rama. Rama means one who is always happy. So the Lord is called Rama because he is always happy. Radha Ramana. Krishna has so many names. One name is called Radha Ramana because he is always enjoying with Srimati Radharani. So if somebody wants to be happy, then it's very simple. The formula is very simple. Then you have to connect yourselves with God, with Krishna. As per Shastra, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is known as God. So we say that Krishna has to be accepted, and then if we connect ourselves with Krishna, then naturally we can be happy. Just as when the leaf is connected to the branch of the tree, then it is always green, it is always fresh, it is in its natural constitutional position. But when the leaf or the branch is cut off from the tree, then it withers, it just dries up, it just loses its potency of freshness, its greenness, it's lost because it is cut from the tree, cut from the whole. So Krishna is the supreme whole. When we are connected with him, then we can be always happy. Because we have disconnected ourselves with Krishna, with God, we have lost that freshness, we have lost that greenness. We are just simply suffering. So if we connect with Krishna, who is the source of unlimited pleasure, Anandam Ambudhi Vardhanam, just by connecting with Krishna, our pleasure increases. We have the title for today's program as Happiness is Eternal. Shastra says that happiness which is eternal is always increasing. Ambudhi refers to the ocean. Just as in the ocean, the rivers constantly flowing, but it is always increasing, but still because of the supremacy of the Lord, still the ocean doesn't overflow. So the happiness is eternal, and then that happiness which is eternal, it keeps on increasing. And there is a I'm unable to find. I just spoke so much about happiness, but then Krishna speaks about a verse, about a particular statement in Bhagavad Gita. Why people are not finding happiness? I said people are not connected with Krishna, that's why they are not finding happiness. But then people are trying to find happiness. So how they are trying to find happiness and why they are not able to find happiness is explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Here is the verse. Krishna says, Yehi samspascha jaboga dukkha yonaye evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha. Translation: an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Now we are trying to find happiness. Actually, we are trying to find happiness, but happiness is attained through our senses. For example, just by seeing something very beautiful, we become happy. Somebody sees a very beautiful scenery, beautiful waterfalls, we become happy. Just with our senses, we are trying to be happy. By hearing some nice music, we are trying to be happy. Just by eating some very palatable food with the help of our tongue, mouth, we are happy. Just by smelling a very fragrant flower, we become happy. Just by having a nice touch, very soft touch, then we are trying to be happy. So our way of happiness is attained through the senses. But Krishna says that any intelligent person who does not, who takes part in the sources of contact with the material senses, then he is miserable. So if we try to find happiness through the senses, which are given to us in the form of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, then the touching sensation, skin, then we can be happy. But these senses, if they are purified, then we can be happy. Just as here we see Krishna, a very beautiful form of the Lord. If you are trying to see anything material, for example, any material beautiful scenery or a beautiful girl or a beautiful boy or anything beauty we are trying to see, that has a beginning and an end. Say for example, you are trying to find a beautiful girl. Just by seeing a beautiful girl, we try to be, because of the sensation, we are happy. But then that beauty of a beautiful girl doesn't last for a long time or doesn't last forever. Nateshu ramate buddha. That pleasure that has a beginning and an end is a source of misery. Someone may be very beautiful now, but as time passes, the beauty is lost. Then one cannot be happy. So similarly, anything which is concerned with the material senses and material objects have a process of deterioration. So whatever sensory pleasure which seems to be happy initially, finally it will end with miserable. But if you are always connected with an eternal thing, then we will be always happy. Just as Krishna is always beautiful. When you always see the beautiful form of Krishna, then we can be happy. Here Srila Prabhupada, he speaks about the Prabhu, we have to finish it by 7:45, something like that. Okay, then I think this will go. Okay, I'll just finish this lecture with the 3 important verses about happiness. Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita. With that, I'll just wind up the lecture. Krishna speaks about 3 sorts of happiness in the material world. Actually, everybody is trying to be happy, but then there are 3 sorts of finding happiness. One happiness is the happiness in the mode of goodness. The second is the happiness in the mode of passion. The third is the happiness in the mode of ignorance. So Krishna speaks about the 3 different types of happiness that one is trying to find. This is text 37 of the 18th chapter. Yatadagre vishamiva pariname amrutopamam tatsukam satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Text 38. Vishayendriya samyogat yatadagre amrutopamam pariname vishamiva tatsukam rajasam smritam. Translation. That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first but poison at the end, is said to be the nature of passion. Text 39. Yadagre chanubandecha sukam mohanam atmanaha nidralasya pramodattam tat tamasam udahritam. And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. Yeah, let's analyze these 3 types of happiness. See, sometimes we are trying to find happiness. Initially, it is giving us happiness. Say, for example, when we find a beautiful bakery shop or an ice cream shop, ice cream parlor, we immediately try to get the ice cream, and immediately we will have some pleasure. But then we know that because of taking an ice cream, because in this winter season, then we may become sick in the future. So initially tasting ice cream was a nectar, but gradually we see that this gives us misery. So this is happiness in the mode of passion. And then there is one other example, that a man is happy to be associated with a woman, and woman is happy to be associated with a man. So initially the touch of a man and a woman is really very nectarian, but gradually we see that because of the contact of these both of the senses of the man and the women, then there are children, then family, then we say that there is then divorce, frustration, depression because of the contact. Then later we don't find any happiness in that relationship. So that happiness of sex life, that is also in the mode of passion. There is something called happiness in the mode of ignorance. You can take the example of the person who is addicted to intoxicants, a drug, a person who is so much involved in drinking. He thinks that I will be happy by taking wine, alcohol. But any sane person will know that even taking alcohol in the first instance is actually a suffering thing. Taking a cigarette even in the first instant is actually a so painful thing. That's why a person who smokes at the first instant, he will keep on coughing. Somebody who is trying to take alcohol for the first time, his body is trying to reject it like anything. But just because he is keep on taking, because of the addiction, then he thinks that okay, taking a cigarette or taking a wine is very good for me. But a very sane person can clearly say that even in the first instant, first contact with a wine or alcohol or a cigarette is actually a miserable thing. And at the end also it is going to be misery. Just by contacting cigarette or alcohol, we are going to be ending up with so much of worst diseases like cancer. We will just spoil our liver by taking alcohol. So this is sort of actually no happiness. The person in the mode of ignorance, for him the obtaining an object at the first instance is also suffering and at the end is also suffering. But that's not the case with the mode of goodness. A person who is trying to find happiness in the mode of goodness, initially he will find that to obtain an object I am taking so much of suffering, but actually ultimately he will be happy. Just as the example is given, the process of self-realization that we devotees have taken up, it involves so much of controlling the mind, controlling the senses. But at the end we will see that the devotees are very happy. Initially it looks like, oh, we should not eat meat, we should not drink wine, we should not drink alcohol, we should not take cigarettes, oh, we should not have any illicit affair with any women. This all seems to be like a poison for us initially. But if you take up the process of self-realization, if you just control your senses, you just control the mind, though initially it looks to be of a very, very tapasya, austere life, then at the end you will see that this is a very, very beautiful life. You will see that you will be able to achieve nectar at the end. So that's what human life is meant for. We should strive for that happiness. Nate vidu swartagadim hi Vishnum. We do not know where to find happiness and what is the process of attaining that happiness. The process of attaining that happiness involves the process of controlling the mind and controlling the senses. But the beauty of Krishna consciousness, which we as devotees are practicing here and presenting to you, is that just by following the process of Bhakti Yoga, you don't even have to have the austerity of controlling the senses or mind. Just the process itself is so nice. There is a very famous verse by Govindas. He says that Parama Karuna Bahu Dujana Nitai Gaura Chandra Sabhavatara Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. Generally, any process of self-realization involves really a very austere life. But then the process of Krishna Bhakti is so nice that the whole process itself is only happiness. Beginning also happiness and ending is also happiness. That is the supermost process of Krishna Bhakti. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitramidam Uttamam. What then? Sushukkam Kartum Aviyam. This is always a happy process. The process of Bhakti Yoga is always happy. Say, we are not telling that don't eat anything, but we are saying that eat nice, tasty, delicious, vegetarian Krishna Prasadam. Who will say no to a nice, delicious Krishna Prasadam? Cooked in ghee, served with so much of love and affection. And we are not saying that no sex. We are saying that no illicit sex. If at all you are disturbed by the senses, then you can officially get married, have a child, raise the child in Krishna consciousness. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Dharma Virudo Bhuteshu Kamosmi Bharadarshava. Having a child as per religious principle is me, Krishna says. So if one can have sex life and have a child and give Krishna consciousness to the child, then that sex life is Krishna. So we are not saying no to anything. We are only purifying the process. We are not saying no to eating. We are telling you to purify the eating. We are not telling that don't sleep. We are just regulating your sleeping. We are not saying that no to sex life. We want to regulate the sex life. Just by regulating all these things, then finally you will attain happiness. And the process of Krishna consciousness is so beautiful that even taking the sadhana of that process, that itself gives us happiness. So this is our humble request, that you all please take to this process of Krishna consciousness, and definitely you will find the process to be happy, and ultimately you will find a never-ending happiness by attaining Krishna. So I just finished this lecture here. If you have any doubts, you can ask now, or I am just available here after this lecture also, after the whole program also. You can stay and then you can ask any questions if you want. Hare Krishna. So, is there any question?
Happiness, like I just want to ask about distress. So if you are in distress condition, so what is that we need to do? What is that we need to do? Distress. You need to turn to Krishna.
Yeah. There is a verse by Srila Bhakti Thakur. He is a very beautiful song he is singing. He is saying, Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole. He is saying that, wake up. Very simple answer, just wake up. You don't have to suffer. Suffering is not your constitutional position. You just don't have to suffer. Just for example, consider the example, somebody is sleeping and he is dreaming that a tiger is chasing him. How do you feel? So much distressful. So distressful that a tiger is searching you. Or you are in a mid of persons who are terrorists, then how you will feel? They're just having your hands and legs tied, and then they're ready to chop your head, and someone is having a gun in his hand, ready to shoot you. It's so much of shivering. You are just shivering, you are just suffering. Actually, this is not happening, but you are just dreaming. And if someone just wakes you up, then you become so relieved, because this is not actually happening to you. So similarly, we are all suffering, but that's actually illusion. We just have to wake up from our suffering position, and that waking up process is Krishna consciousness. Just wake up, just understand who you are, just know that you are just sleeping. And if somebody is waking up, you just be happy that someone has waken you up. So first, actually in spiritual life, first we have to know who we are. I was just thinking about so many things. Actually, in a matter of 45 minutes, how much we can speak. You have to learn this process. You have to take up some of our books. We have Bhagavad Gita. We have Science of Self-Realization. You have to buy these books. Then you will know what we are trying to say. You should buy Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Then you will be able to understand what subject we are speaking about. Generally, we think, actually I spoke about the senses with which you are trying to find happiness. We are having a body. This body is made of senses. Either the senses are acquiring the knowledge, or they are doing some activity. So with the senses, this body is made of. But we are not at all this body. We are only possessing the body. We are the possessor of the body, but we are not the body. But just as someone is having a car and he is nicely taking care of the car, he will never be happy by just taking care of the car. He can, of course, he may be happy by taking care of the car, but unless until he is giving some food to him also. He is simply taking care of the car so nicely, but not taking care of him, then he will never be happy. So similarly, we are nicely taking care of the body. We are taking care of the eyes. We are giving so much to our eyes, so much to our ears, so much to the nose, so much to the tongue. But we will never be happy just by feeding our body. We have to feed the soul. This body is a yantra for us to travel. That's okay. But then we are not the body at all. We are the person living in the body. That person is the soul, the Atman. That Atma Vidya you can find in Bhagavad Gita. And how that Atma can be happy, how practically it can be happy by the process of Bhakti, that is detailed explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So you just take these literatures. I can say that you just wake up, but then how to wake up, it's a big process. So you have to take knowledge. Just like you are asking question to me, so you are taking knowledge from me. So these are the books which we are just showcasing outside, which gives this knowledge. So first you should take these books and get knowledge. Buy these books. There is a book called Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. It's a very small book, Krishna, but a very powerful book. How Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. We are speaking about happiness, but then I said we should go to the place where happiness is present, and Krishna is full of pleasure. And whoever is connected with Krishna, they also become so much happy. If they are not connected with Krishna, then we just simply suffer. So we have to just wake up. If somebody is suffering, it's very simple that they have to question why they are suffering. In fact, when one questions their suffering, then they are actually befitting the human form of life. Until one questions, actually you asked me a question that how we can be free from distress. This is a very intelligent question. In fact, human life begins by questioning why I am suffering. Because animals cannot question. Animals will just suffer and then die. Birds will just suffer and die. Every species will just suffer and die. Nobody will question why they may even try to avoid suffering, that's it. But then they will never question why I am suffering. But only the human being can question his suffering. So our duty is to question our suffering. Then you are beginning your spiritual life. The spiritual life begins by Atato Brahma Jignasa. Question your suffering now. All other births you did not question at all. When you are having the body of a dog, you did not question why I am suffering. When you are having the body of a snake, you did not question why you are suffering. When you are having the body of a dog, a cat, or a bird, or a fish, you never questioned that why you are suffering. But now you have attained this human body. Now you have to question why I am suffering. So that's the intelligent question, why I am suffering. And the answer you can find in the Shastra. The whole body of Vedic literature is giving us this knowledge. So let's question at least. An intelligent person has to question why he is suffering.
Also, we said that three kinds of kleshas: Adi, Bhakti, Adi, and Adi. So they are in control of Adi.
Adidevi, Kadibaudik, Adhyatmik, these are also refers to the miseries. They are not referring to the pleasures. They refer to the miseries. Yeah. Yes. So these are the books. Someone who is not having Bhagavad Gita, you please take Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a perfect book which introduces us to happiness. Krishna speaks about who we are, and just as Arjuna, he was in a very miserable, suffering, pitiable position. Then he questioned Krishna, how I can situate myself in happiness. Then whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken. The whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Arjuna to by Krishna to Arjuna, just to eradicate his suffering and put himself in happiness. So if somebody wants to eradicate his suffering, then he should begin his research by studying Bhagavad Gita. Then we have other books like Science of Self-Realization, Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. Then gradually we should go to the literature of Srimad Bhagavatam, where you will find that Krishna is speaking about happiness, how to attain happiness. But there in Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find that happiness is directly present and you will be able to drink happiness in it. Here you will know, just as I may say that you just go to this particular shop, you will be able to find very sweet rasgulla in it. Then you will be happy, oh, if I go to that particular shop, I will get rasgulla. So the information where you can find happiness I have given. But when you go to the shop and buy Rasagulla, then that's the practical application of what the knowledge was given. So Bhagavad Gita, it just speaks about the information of where you will find happiness. And Bhagavatam, you will find that that's where you will find happiness. Because you will find really happiness in Bhagavatam. How you are fully connected with Krishna, Tushyanti cha, Ramanti cha. You will actually connect yourself with Krishna by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't have the whole Srimad Bhagavatam here, but Srimad Bhagavatam is a very beautiful literature of 18 volumes of books. What is this? This is the 10th. This is the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It speaks about the pastimes of Krishna. But then there are totally 18 such books. So one who is connecting himself with God through Srimad Bhagavatam, then he will find all happiness in it. That's why the third verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says that Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam Shukamukat Amrita Drava Samitam Pibada Bhagavata Rasamalayam. Whole Bhagavatam is full of rasa. I was telling you should go to a place where you can get happiness. That place is Srimad Bhagavatam. Just by connecting yourselves with Bhagavatam, just by every day Shunvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, just by giving an oral reception to the literature called Srimad Bhagavatam, you will be happy. So if somebody wants happiness, then buy Bhagavatam. As simple as that. Just by buying Srimad Bhagavatam, you will be happy. By reading, you will be really happy. You are connecting fully with God. Because Bhagavatam itself is Krishna. Krishna Tulya Bhagavata. That's a very higher subject. Right now we are in a very, but still anyone can read Srimad Bhagavatam and be happy. So any other question? Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.